Coach, what is the difference in the offensive passing game, and how has it changed from last year?
Yeah, obviously, across football, there's always going to be some carryover and some crossover as far as concepts are concerned. I think the one thing that you'll notice is we are going to take some vertical shots down the field, try to create some explosives, and take advantage of people vertically down the field. But a lot of things are, although be it maybe different verbiage, a lot of concepts, just like in general in football, kind of carry over and cross over. We'll still be multiple with our formations and personnel groupings and different things like that. But I think that would be the subtle difference that you'll see right there from a pass game perspective.
Who are the players that have made an impact in your mind in this small sample size of camp so far?
Yeah, so I think we know and understand kind of like who those guys that finished the season strong. Like a Coy finishes the season strong. He comes back, puts another solid year together. A guy like CD finishes on a super, high note. And Reggie comes in here and he's done a phenomenal job of just taking off, and you can see his big play threat ability. He's explosive. Culturally, he's fit in. He's always smiling, smile on his face, just come and acclimated to the room. Really, really great. And I think, not only in our room, but just to the team in general. And all our new guys have done that. We really hit some home runs with those guys. I would say you look at a guy like a Kelby Valzin, a TJ West, right, a Tyson Turner, and some of those younger guys that are now kind of going into that second, third year phase. Those guys coming along and really pushing themselves, and I think you're gonna be able to see some of those guys be able to contribute and get out there and play with full confidence. So I've been really proud of the way those guys are pushing themselves this spring as well.
Who's made the biggest growth from when you last saw them to today?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a made the biggest growth. I think there's CD's continued on a track that he's finished on, getting better and better, coming out, putting solid practices together. Coy getting better and better, those guys continuing on those same trajectories. But as I was saying with those young guys, it's really the young guys of stepping up and understanding like, hey, here's a defined role for me, and they're really pushing themselves to come out to practice and contribute. And I think I've been really impressed and excited with those young guys of how they're attacking it. Even our early enrollees, they got out there and they're competing. You talk about Deaver and Layton, they're out there and they're competing their tails off, and it's exciting for those guys to be in there and get after it too. So I would just say the young guys as a group collectively, and then that middle tier group, those guys have been here for about 2 or going on to the third year, doing a great job.
So with this, if the Red Raiders are to be successful this year, what is your goal for the passing for your part of the team?
Yeah, I would say that what we want to do and what we talked about collectively as an offense is create big plays and explosive. I think we have the guys that can create big plays, explosive plays on the edge. I think that we have running backs that can take and hit a home run with any carry that they get. So to me, a heavy emphasis on blocking on the perimeter, not just only in the passing game, but just doing our part in the run game as well. Because again, we get a body on the perimeter. We have the backs that can take it the distance. As far as the pass game's concerned, make the play that comes to you. That's what I'm looking for these guys to do. Dominate their one-on-one and make the play that's coming to you. We got a saying in the room, no such thing as a 50-50 ball. When the ball is in the air, we got to own the ball, we got to claim the ball, and then quite frankly, we got to be able to be counted on in critical situations. I thought Josh Kelly was a big part of that last year on third down, continuing to move the chains. We knew we could count on him and find him. We got to continue that in critical situations, whether it be at a 2-point conversion, third down, fourth down, critical down. We got to be able to have guys step up in those situations and maximize that for us as well right there. So that's what I look forward to about that.
A week or two ago, Coy told us a story about Leighton taking some after-hour reps with him and Hammond. I was just curious of your assessment of his character and his work ethic.
Yeah, those guys, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed and very fortunate. Our guys are a tight-knit group, and the older guys do a really, really, really good job of grabbing those younger guys and showing them, hey, this is the expectation. I get where you're at right now. I, too, was once there. This is how we can expedite that process to get you to where I kind of am now, and this is how I got here. And a lot of that has to do with the work. And so them grabbing those guys, showing them how to work, showing them how to show up, showing them how to get treatment, preventative treatment, rest, recover, rehab, hydration, eating big, all the little things that go into a day-to-day process that we talk about, because we hammer on that a lot, right? It's about your process. What does your process look like? What does your routine look like? Do you have a plan? And our older guys have done an exceptional job of showing the younger guys what that looks like.
And then Coy has famously been very hard on himself. He's talked to us about that a lot. But as a coach, how do you, I guess, because that is what's made him so good over the years, is how critical he's been of himself. But as a coach, how do you balance that of not tearing him down and kind of not letting him get too into his head?
Yeah, I think you just find that sweet spot for him, right? And so we want to be critical of ourselves, overly critical, and but we don't want it to be a detriment to where we can't move past it and to where, like, one play is hurting us on the next play, right? And so just kind of finding those sweet spots and talking him through, like, hey, if this isn't perfect, let's figure out why it wasn't perfect, why it didn't go the way we wanted to. Let's process that, and then let's go apply it to the next rep. Can't get that one back, and move forward. So with me, it's just about process of continuing to collect that information. Once I have that information, now I'm still moving forward with that information to then go to the next thing, and it's not a lingering deal. And so I think he's done a great job. You know, the more we're together, he's done a great job. Me, you know, I'll settle him down, and hey, it's okay, move on to the next one. Don't let, you know, we can't let one play beat us twice or one rep beat us twice, you know. And so we talk about it all the time, you know, what's next. And so him having that mentality of, okay, if this didn't turn out like I wanted it to, let me process why. Because we do want to collect that information and process why that didn't happen. But then we're going to move on to this next thing over here, so that doesn't affect us again.
And then Coach Cochran mentioned that Preston was in your room now. He had come in just a little bit underweight. I'm curious what development looks like for him being in your room, and if you intend to keep him in your room or you want to get him to the weight to transition to Cochran's room.
I don't think that's necessary. One, I don't think that's necessarily like a my call deal, like getting him to the weight of what he wants to do. He's in there in our room, and he's working his tail off just like the rest of the guys, and he's out there and he's taking reps. And I think we're just going to continue to move forward and just kind of let that play out and see how it goes. But he's been with the receiver group in there working, getting the reps at receiver, and we'll move forward like that until coach or anybody else mentions anything different.
You mentioned expanding the downfield part of the passing game. How much does Reggie Virgil, you know, give that to you? I think he had, 5 or 6 50-yard plays last season.
Yeah, see, sometimes it's the nature of the player again, because it's not to say we didn't take downfield shots. We took downfield shots, you know, just in general offensively. You're taking those shots down the field. But, again, you got a guy like Reggie, and you know he has that big play capability, and you got another guy like CD on the other outside spot that, you know, has the same capability to take the top off, right? And then a guy like Coy who's done those same things. And so now, you know, you understand who's out there personnel-wise, that you can really push the issue right there and force some guys to have to play defense and stretch the field.
What about Reggie makes him so good?
I think what makes Reggie so good, amongst other things, just like is the is just like the innocence in his nature too. As you see him like kind of walking around, like he's a very serious person, like when it comes to football, and wants to be great, but he also has kind of that like fun, like he loves it. Like he loves football. It doesn't feel like, over the top, like a job to him, I would say. Like, he loves to show up. His energy is infectious, always a smile on his face. And so I just think the way, like, the energy that he brings into the spaces in the room that he enters, he brings that same energy to the field, which allows him to just go play free, right? Allows him to go play free. And so he has a lot of traits that also, help him and are conducive to being a solid receiver, such as his vertical speed. He's twitchy. He has a great catch radius. He can get in and out of breaks. He will put his hands on you in the run game. So he's solid there. So a lot of things about Reggie that can do that. But I think the biggest thing is just his approach and how he enters the spaces that he enters into.
And then what's been your first impression of Leighton Stone and Michael Deaver, a couple of local kids playing for the school they grew up watching?
Yeah, super fired up to have both of those guys, man. Super fired up to have both of those guys. Those guys were a huge priority, right? Hometown kids, making sure that we get those guys to stay home, you know what I mean, homegrown. And so been super impressed with those guys. Their high school coaches have done a great job of getting those guys ready. Now, obviously, there's going to be some learning curves within that, but super excited that those guys are here. They love to compete. Right, they're in there getting after it. Like, you can't tell them they're early enrollee freshmen. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't tell. They want to get in there. They want to mix it up. And so been really, really excited to have both of those guys. Super blessed that both of those guys are here. They're gonna have a chance to have great careers here.
Go ahead, Don. Justin, how did you evaluate or kind of grade your guys, your room on the scrimmage on Saturday? What were kind of the highlights there?
Yeah, I thought that we created some explosive plays, collectively as an offense. And what you wanted to see was kind of like we spoke about, that downfield threat of passing, and then also being able to throw a shorter intermediate route, catch the ball and do what we call catch and carry, get yards after the catch, make people miss. I thought we did a good job of making, the first defender miss and turning what could be a 15-yard gain and to a 50-yard gain, right? And then I thought we did a great job that when the ball was in the air of going up and working to dominate the ball while it was in the air, trying to eliminate the saying of the 50-50 ball. And so the biggest thing that I thought we did a good job of was creating those explosives on the edge. The guys did a good job with the ball in their hand. There's some technique things, and as a coach, you're overly critical, and it's probably never gonna be perfect in how you want it on the eval. And so, again, long way away, still got a lot of work to do, but proud of the way that these guys are progressing for the most part.
And I think Joey said in the video, Caleb have a couple of touchdowns. Is that
yes?
Right.
Yeah. He played well. Yeah, he played well.
You might go back over those the guys who have been here like 2 or 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
Kelby and TJ
Right.
and those guys.
Yes, sir.
What's kind of the next step for them? Or I know obviously young guys like that, when they come in, they're talked about a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then people maybe are disappointed not to see them more. What kind of
Yeah.
has held them back to this point, and what do they need to do to kind of get on the field more?
Yeah, I don't think there's a thing that's kind of held them back. I think they're progressing just, right along as they should. So it really hadn't been a nature of, them holding themselves back or anybody holding them back. I think we were fortunate to have some senior-led guys that have played, that have kind of been in those spots. And, like a Josh Kelly has graduated, so now Kelby is kind of naturally – matriculating there, and some of those young guys, the same thing with Coy not playing and then him playing and then continuing to play, and the same thing with a guy leaving or graduating and CD coming and him continuing to play. So I think with their opportunities, they've been maximizing them, and they'll just continue to get more of those. And we got full confidence that those guys, with those opportunities, that they'll maximize those opportunities, and those opportunities just continue to grow.
Anybody else? I got one. Hey, Juice.
Hey, what's
I'm
up?
Joe with Red Raider Sports. I don't think I've ever had a chance of meeting you.
Not
so
in
this
person.
is my first one. So
Yeah.
pleasure being here.
Pleasure
sir.
to meet you, man.
with Coy moving to the inside
Yeah.
and us spreading guys back out to the outside, how big is it to have a guy like Coy inside to give the outside guys some chance to really run?
Yeah, it's huge. A couple things, right? With a presence like Coy, being able to get in there and get his hands on some of those linebackers. Coy is a bigger body, right? So being able to get in there and get his hands on some linebackers to help us secure up in the run game too. And then, conceptually, there's a lot of routes, that we're going to start, particularly maybe inside out on some of those things with our RPO game, right? And a lot of those things inside are a feel thing, right? You're maneuvering through a lot of different layers of defense as they also have moving parts. High-level football IQ guy who's going to operate and has great sense of spatial awareness, great feel, great recognition of defense. And so I expect him to operate at a really, really high level inside. And he's slid in there and hadn't skipped a beat. He's looked good, in that spot. And Coy's a guy that we can ask to, you'll see Coy outside too, you know what I mean, and vice versa. Some of those guys, I don't necessarily want to sit here and term a guy, hey, here's an inside guy or outside guy, you know what I mean. Practice whatever it is in the spring, right? Find those best guys, put them in the best position and the best spots for them to be successful. So you'll see him inside, outside, and vice versa with some of those other guys as well.
One last one.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Price Morgan.
Yeah.
Coaches talked before about the fact that earning those lower numbers,
Yeah.
The single digits and the teens aren't exactly something you just get. It's earned. So I was curious about his development, being a preferred walk-on, getting to this point. If you could kind of just talk about that path for him.
He's another guy. And in the scrimmage was the same way. He's a guy that's in spring, if you were to say, like, has been not necessarily a surprise because I feel like he has a great skill set and I know what he could do. That's been very efficient. He's been a highlight and a guy that we're like, yes, we love to have him. And so that continued in the scrimmage. He played really well in the scrimmage, and he's a guy he's taking every opportunity, advantage of every opportunity that he's getting with his reps. And so a guy like Price, he's been like, if you can term like a highlight, he's been a highlight of, like, yeah, really, really, really happy we got him here.